If you guys have not already seen it, Brendan Schaub got himself into a little bit of drama within the MMA community because of what he had to say about UFC Noche and the Sphere. We're going to take a look at that in just a second, and what everybody else in the MMA community had to say about it. We're going to take a look at some top replies, and as always, guys, I would love to know what you think about it down below afterwards. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with many YouTube channels. Guys, let's start by taking a look over what Brendan Schaub had to say. Not a fan of UFC Noche. It's the equivalent of a rainforest cafe for sports. Let's hear what he has to say.
My issue is the product that I paid to watch was not great because it wasn't a pay-per-view worthy card. The belle of the ball is the Sphere.
Now, before he continues on with that, the product that he paid to watch had some of the greatest fights we have ever seen. The co-main event was, and I'll argue this to the day I die, man. Sean O'Malley versus Rob Dvalishvili was a fun fight. Valentina Shevchenko, Alexa Grasso was literally the only one on the card that did not deliver. That may be Raul Rosas Jr.
Therefore, what you're paying for, unless you're in person, ain't that great, dude. And the main event and co-main event, boy, did the UFC gamble and they lost. You know what?
But it doesn't. I don't even know if did they gamble for the event? Because at the end of the day, the Sphere event was a raging success. People loved it. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic too. This, and I know people won't agree with me on this, this was my favorite UFC card of all time.
This is, you know what the Sphere is? It's Rainforest Cafe. It looks fucking great, but the product is shit.
Yeah, but what about it was crap though? Like, what was wrong with it? I don't understand. Like, at the beginning of the card, and this is something that, it's not just me that said this, because I was disappointed that we didn't see any graphics on it. I was like, oh my god, what did they do with their $20 million? And then all the graphics and the movies and stuff started coming out. Now, if you want to talk about some things that weren't necessary in order to have a perfect event, we can talk about that. But at the end of the day, you can't say the event was crap.
As a kid, I loved Rainforest Cafe. It looked sick, right? It had the fucking animals
sounds and
sounds,
water,
and there was mist. You're like, I'm in a jungle, and then you get your fucking macaroni, and it's horrendous.
But that's a horrible comparison, though, because the fights were amazing. Zellhuber Ribovics was one of the greatest fights we've ever seen. Like, every fight on that card, just about delivered. If you're looking for just name value, yeah, you know what, then. But you could, you didn't have to go to the event then if you didn't like the name value. Like, the product that you paid for delivered 100%. Would you guys rather watch a high-level fight but then get like an Adesanya and Romero? Like, yeah, those are two really, really big fights. It's a product you pay for. Name value's right there. Come on.
And you're waiting around forever. UFC doing events at this fair is Rainforest Cafe. Looks great. Fun experience. The actual product sucks. I'd rather watch great fights at the Apex Center.
Now, that's the part that was going viral.
All that.
And I have been saying, okay, hang on, let him finish.
Maybe I'm the minority. I don't know.
Now, I would say that I do enjoy my Apex events. I obviously prefer things with fans, but I do enjoy the Apex card still. I'm a little bit stuck here, okay? I'm a little bit stuck because Brendan Schaub, I don't want this to come off the wrong way because I do like Brendan Schaub. I'm not like the rest of the MMA community, and I always like Brendan Schaub. I've been watching him forever, okay? I like him. But at the end of the day, I could see this just being a thing to farm engagement because it's just wrong. You can say that the Sphere wasn't as hyped up as everybody made it out to be. You can say stuff like that, but to say that the product that you paid for didn't deliver is just completely incorrect. Now, the top reply to this literally says another common Schaub L. Unfortunately, that's what most people were saying about this, to be honest with you, because but then again, you'd hear that Brendan Schaub could say 1 + 1 = 2, and people would say L Schaub as usual. But I do think it was a little bit of an L on Brendan Schaub's part. Combat Heaven had this to say: did you watch any of the fights before the main and co-main event? Now, that's what I'm talking about. Now, the top reply over here says the majority of people watch for whose name is on the card, pretending like that's not true is silly. Watching depending on whose name is the card is silly. I agree with that. Like, who cares? Just some of the best fights you'll ever see are on the early prelims. Like, the people who need to prove themselves, they deliver so much more. Those little fight nights that nobody wants to watch, they deliver more than your pay-per-views. Truth, the last two fights ended up being 50 minutes of boring wrestling. I'm sure the Sphere was cool live, but I didn't really elevate the TV experience at all. I disagree with that. I thought they did a good job about translating what people were seeing to at home. Now, does it compare? No. Do I look at this and say, okay, that's $20 million? I don't think so either. But at the end of the day, they did a good job putting all of it into our TVs. They did a good job with the camera work, kind of like seeing what people were seeing, like when they had the cameras at body level in the seats and stuff like that. I thought they did a good job, to be honest with you. The conversation should be, was it worth $20 million? Not, was it a bad event? You sound dumber than usual. I get you're trying to have hot takes for rage bait, but this is dumb. Now, I want to ignore the part you sound dumber than usual because sometimes Brendan Schaub says some funny things and sometimes he has takes like this. And I don't want to insult Brendan Schaub because at the end of the day, I do like Brendan Schaub. I get you're trying not to, or to have hot takes for rage bait. That's what I'm a little bit worried about that Brendan Schaub is doing here. And if he's doing that, I don't necessarily like that because it is a little bit dishonest. I'd rather Brendan Schaub just listen to him as a person, as a fan of Brendan Schaub's. Like, I don't like it when people just rage bait for the sake of rage baiting. Let's continue on to Cisco Kid. I disagree. I enjoyed watching it. The effects were great. The setup was great. Even the ring girls were great. It was a different setup for once, and I think they nailed it. It was a great watch. I'm sure in person it was 100 times better than through TV. I completely agree with this, to be honest with you. I completely agree with this. The effects were great. The setup was great. And it's the first time I have ever paid attention to ring girls ever. Like, they had those cool technology outfits at the end. I don't even know if that was supposed to be anything to do with Mexico, but you guys know what I'm saying? Like the Sean O'Malley, like, I liked when they went above and beyond. I like the golden people. I thought all of that was cool. The setup was great, and I think they did. I think they did have a really nice setup. Like, the effects on the screen were great. They did a good job translating this over to TV, in my opinion. Let's take a look at another reply from Vadester. He had this to say: UFC put on an amazing show on another level. This guy must have lost somebody on the Brian Ortega fight. This is something that you see every once in a while, and I always think about this and wonder if this is the case because people get so excited for the events, people get so excited for the fights, and then something happens where they just completely change their tune. And I think that this is one of the things that definitely would change your tune because if you're betting on fights, obviously you're more invested in your money, you're more invested in your bet. If your bet or parlay just completely gets busted and you lose like maybe $100 or more on an event, you're more likely to come out of that event with a negative attitude no matter what just happened with the fights. At the end of the day, you lost $100 or more. I'm just using $100 as an example. That could be a big stinker, and I think that because there's a lot of people who bet on MMA. I think that's something we actually need to take into consideration when taking a look at people and talking about like just hating on UFC cards, UFC events. At the end of the day, what Brendan Schaub said over here, I completely disagree with, man, because it's got to be rage bait, right? It's got to be. Like, look what it's doing. It's got the whole MMA community talking about it. It's got me talking about it. And that's not to say like I'm some like big person that needs to be talking about this. Like, oh, Brendan Schaub was trying to prove something to me, but I'm talking about like just creators in general, people sharing this on Reddit, people sharing this on Twitter. Just the talk is all about Brendan Schaub at the moment of recording this video. By the time it came out, I'm sure that it blew over a little bit, but it's a little bit disappointing when fighters, when anybody in the UFC space does this or any just content creators in general, because I don't think like, can you seriously compare it to the Rainforest Cafe? Seriously. Come on, man. Come on, Schaub. And I'm a defender of Schaub. I like Brendan Schaub more than a lot of people but this is like the problem. This is Brendan. You're kind of giving people a reason not to like you over here. It's just an outrageous take, man. That's all. Let me know what you think about it down below. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you very, very much for watching. Guys, if you want to continue watching the channel, why don't you check out this video on screen right now. YouTube thinks you like this video the best if you want to keep watching the channel. I'll see you guys over there. Take care, everybody.